Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to tie my secret fly for stocked rainbow trout. It's that time of the year where stocked rainbows are going into our local streams, and powerbait fishermen abound. Here in Middle Tennessee, none of these rainbows hold over, so any of the trout you catch, that's the first time they've been in the stream. Unlike wild trout or holdovers, these fish are about as dumb as they come. And while classic egg patterns, mop flies, and squirmy worms will get the job done, I've been tying this flashy midge pattern and the trout seem to love it. It's also really easy. If you like this type of content, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And now let's get to tying. All right, so I'm going to start out with a size 14 curved midge hook. And this is it's just actually a cheap box that I got off Amazon. So they're not the highest quality hooks, but it looks like this, and it comes with both some curved Nymph scud pupa micro barbed hooks, as well as universal dry fly micro barbed. And while they are not a designer name or like a well-known brand like Gamakatsu or any of those, they've worked well. I haven't had a problem with them, so I went for cheap because I got quite a few of them in the pack. But you open it up and you actually see it. It has it organized by the regular dry fly hooks over here, and then the curved Nymph hooks over here. And it even tells you what the conversion table of what these are to both Daiki, Tiemco, Mustad, and Orvis hooks if you were trying to do a comparison. But so pretty neat. I'll try to find it and put a link below so you can check out this set. But I'm using a size 14. This comes with 10, 12, 14, and 16. So you can obviously go lower, but I haven't found the need to with what I'm fishing these for, which is big, dumb, stocked rainbow. So I'm going to start out with some UTC 210 denier. Now, normally for smaller flies, you think you want thinner thread and something that's going to not bulk up as much. But there's really only a few materials to this. So I actually use the thicker thread. And I first just start by laying down a base. Start with that thread base. Go pretty far back, like all the way to the bend of the hook. Still a little bit ways down there. So that's your thread base. Now, the next material that you'll use is this Vivus pearl. This is 20 millimeter, some like tinsel that comes in a spool. So it's not like the straight strips of the crystal flash, but I always trim off too much because I don't know how to measure it. But just cut yourself a strip of that, and then you will tie that in on the back here of the fly. And we'll work it back down right as far as you want it to go. Then you can trim that top, which will make it lay a little bit more flat. And you go back up, trim the tag in, and then just do kind of tight wraps all the way back up towards the eye, and then just leave your thread there. Now, this can be a little bit tricky because you want to keep tension. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap this tinsel all the way up, overlapping, and it creates a little bit of a segmented body look, which is pretty cool. You'll start it there and you'll just work your way up on that thread, overlapping as you go. And it doesn't have to be perfect, in my opinion. And if you kind of mess up, you just kind of pull it back. But the key here is to keep that tension on. So that the body segments it'll give it a segmented look. And then you get up top, keep that tension. And then you're going to throw a couple over and then tighten it down right there behind the eye of the hook. You're going to snip it. And then you kind of build up a bead head right behind the eye, that black thread. Doesn't have to be too much, but just a little bit of a ridge. And I'm going to throw a half hitch in there because there's not much for it to hang on to hold it. Make sure my eye is still exposed well. And then I will do a whip finish at the end, and you can kind of go kind of behind the bead head if it makes it easier because there's not a ton of room by that eye. But that way, there's just a little something to keep it in place for a minute, but it doesn't have to keep it too secure. And then final step is use some UV resin. I use the thick first. This is just some cheap Amazon resin. I know there's higher quality out there, but I'm going to do just a little dab right there and let it kind of run and kind of bead. This is, like I said, the thick right there on top where you made that kind of faux bead head with the thread. And then before it runs, just hit it with a quick cure from a UV light. It gives it a little more shape. It also gives it just a hair more weight. I mean, this thing will sink perfectly fine, but it gives a little bit more weight to kind of pull it down. And then once you're done with that, I like to switch from the thick resin over to some thin resin. And this is going to keep the body in place because that tinsel, there's no wire or anything holding it down. You could do a silver wire or a copper wire, but I really like the pearlescence that it has just there in the water. And so just a light coat, spin it around so it kind of naturally falls underneath. And make sure it goes all the way down and then let it spin. Make sure you get it in a space where you want it. And then zap it with the resin. Zap it with the UV light. Let it cure. And that should cover that entire kind of segmented body look, as well as protect that tinsel and kind of encapsulate the whole fly so it doesn't come apart. But that's it. Real quick, real easy. Fun little fly. Has some nice sparkle to it. Catch the fish's eye. I normally fish this below like a grasshopper, and I'll use that as my indicator. And so I'll tie the grasshopper, then however, the stream depth, couple feet of tippet off of the bend of the hook down to the bead on here. That's another thing you want to be careful of, is make sure when you're doing that resin, you don't cover up that tiny eye. Then you won't be able to, obviously, when you get there out in the water, won't be able to get that tippet through. You'll probably be pretty frustrated with yourself. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a real simple pattern. And it seems to do really well with stocked rainbow because it has some color to it. still looks like a bug in the water, but they're not really sure what they're doing at that point anyway. So makes for a fun little fishing adventure. If you like this video, if you like this tutorial, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with what your favorite stocked rainbow fly is, what you like to use when you're out there chasing some stockers. And go ahead and give a thumbs up as well. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.